Ladies and gentlemen, we are live on the White House lawn. Look at this. Oh, my arms are gone. Oh my gosh. No, I'm just kidding. We're not on the White House lawn, but I can tell you that it is beautiful. Anyway, all right, so this is what we're going to go over. Basically, I'm going to go over. Remember in the last video, I was telling you about how President Trump has his friends and he has his enemies. What you got to remember is Trump brought these people on for one or two reasons, or even more. What we were told back in the day was we're going to bring dark to light. So just stay tuned with that, and you're going to see more people that you like. Come to find out, they're not as a Trump supporter as you might think. But I'm gonna go over Senator Kennedy here. He's hilarious. You just get a quick chuckle on some of the stuff he says, but he is a huge Trump supporter, I believe. And I'm gonna go over some of the statements Marco Rubio has said, and just the backstabbery. Backstabbery, is that even the word? I don't even know. But we'll make it that way. The backstabbery of the Democrat Party, saying one thing and doing another. And then we're going to have a clip of President Trump and when he talks to the press the other day. And we're going to top it off with the Senator John Thune, and the Republican Party has 50 votes. And then we're going to go over that for the filibuster. So let's stay tuned. Here we go. Let's have a couple laughs here with Senator John Kennedy. Please like, share, and subscribe. They're only going to get better. Thank you.
Tariffs are like whiskey. A little whiskey under the right circumstances can be refreshing. Too much whiskey under the wrong circumstances, and you end up drunk as a goat. Tariffs are like whiskey. A little whiskey under...
That's hilarious. I heard that the other day, and I just freaking died laughing. Here's more. That's his book out there too, if you're interested.
The idea that we send billions of dollars to dead people, and they get cash. The checks get cash. It's obviously a lot of fraud.
And we're talking about Social Security checks.
No, we're talking about
And this is why we need voter ID. We're leading up to the story.
all kind of checks.
All kinds of checks.
Yep. When you die, Katie, your name, not that you're going to die anytime soon, but when you die, your name goes to the Social Security Department. And they have a list of dead people. But they wouldn't share it with anybody else. They wouldn't share it with the Department of Treasury, for example. And I went to them and I said, why won't you tell Treasury who the dead people are? And Social Security said, well, we don't have the legal authority. And I said, sure you do. And they said, no, we don't. So I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere with them. So I had to go pass a bill. It took 4 years to pass a bill. Believe it or not, I had opposition.
Why would you have opposition? It just blows my mind that I can't go to Canada and vote. I can't go to Mexico and vote. I can't go to any other country and vote unless I was a citizen. So why not here? There's like 80% people in America that thinks that we should have voter ID, and that's some of them, most of them, not most of them, but a lot of them are Democrats. It's unbelievable to me that the Democrat Party are not waking up.
But we finally got it passed, and the president signed it yesterday. And so far as I can tell, dead people can still vote, but they can't cash checks because we're not going to be sending them to them anymore. And it's going to save billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Well, do you have any advice about how to make sure that dead people are not voting? Saving money is important, but also making sure that votes are not canceled out by people who are no longer living is also very important. But why is it also that there's opposition to cleanup like this?
Well, there's also, for one thing, there were some people making money off of supplying the information to the states of who's dead and who's alive.
You see that? You see what he was saying? People are making money. How do you think the people on the Hill in Washington make all their money? Democrats and Republicans. There's so many snakes up there, and I believe that Donald Trump knows who the snakes are. I'm convinced. because the way this is playing out, I call it the movie. The way this is playing out, it's been told to us years ago, and now we're just sitting here watching it unfold in front of our eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It is crazy. We're going to keep playing this because people are making money.
And because the state doesn't go out and just gather the information, they have services that help them. Well, the services got nervous. You're going to take away my money, so we had to fight them off. And then I had to fight some of my Democratic friends off. They said, well, there's a trick in here. I said, there's no trick, man. It's called fraud. It's called stealing. It's called thievery. And then I had to get it through committee. And then I had to go to the floor and get the majority. It's a long story, but we, after 5 years, we finally got it.
Well, it's an important start.
And then my next video is going to be about the Minnesota election, or not election, but Minnesota fraud. Just think about how much fraud is out there. If you actually open up your eyes and see how much fraud is actually out there, and if we cut that fraud off like President Trump and the Republican Party is doing, we probably wouldn't even have to pay taxes. We probably wouldn't even have to. Taxes is theft anyway.
For sure, but as you mentioned, there's a number of state agencies that receive taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And as we've seen in Minneapolis, when the federal government goes in to ensure and do some accountability to make sure that this money is not going to fraudulent sources, whether it's dead people or people who are using it for money laundering or setting up things like fake daycares like we've seen in Minnesota, there's a lot of pushback. So how does Congress ensure that the federal tax dollar, which is taken from the paychecks of hardworking Americans all over the country, is then being secured in places like Minnesota or California, for example, where there's billions of dollars in fraud, that the local jurisdictions, whether it's the governors, Tim Walz in Minnesota, Gavin Newsom in California, or the local mayors who kind of like their programs, and it seems to be a lot of corruption with who benefits from them.
Well, every state is different. Some state governors cooperate, some of them don't.
Right.
Governor Walz didn't cooperate. He knew about this fraud. He knew all about it. And he lied about it. I'm sorry. No offense to the governor, but he learned to lie before he learned to talk. This play.
Yeah, and I'm gonna cut that off right there because I'm gonna go over that in my next video about a fraud in Minneapolis or in Minnesota itself, and then we're gonna go on to this is a clip of Senator Rubio. He was testifying the other day, and I thought that this was pretty crazy because it shows how the Democrats are. And it was just crazy how Senator Chris Van Hollen said, oh, I voted for you, but just listen what he says. And then listen to what Senator Rubio says at the end. Listen closely.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job.
Well, that's just
Your
a
record
flippant
and what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
It's a good point.
$14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with.
Including the one he had a margarita with. Isn't that crazy? The Democrats are so hypocritical. It is mind-boggling because what they are doing to Trump right now is what they did, or what they did to Trump is what Trump's doing to them right now. It's crazy to me. And here's President Trump the other morning. He's talking to the press. Here we go.
Good financial numbers, very low inflation. We brought costs way down, and the numbers were surprising, except to me, they weren't surprising. So the inflation numbers that just announced, as you know, are way down, and we have it back in track. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now we have very modest inflation, which is what you want to have.
Mr. President, are you
That's
anticipating,
right.
Mr. President, why hasn't the FBI taken over the Nancy Guthrie case as the lead investigator? Do you have any updates on how that's going?
Well, they took it over originally. You know, it was a local case originally, and they didn't want to let go of it, which is fine. It's up to them. It's really up to the community. But ultimately, when the FBI got involved, I think, progress has been made. Complicated case.
Mr. President, are you
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff with that case, the Guthrie case.
anticipating cutting a deal with Democrats to end the potential shutdown for DHS?
See what happens. We always have to protect our law enforcement. It's very important. They've done a great job. Remember, they've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country, and we have the best crime numbers we've ever had, and everywhere. Murder numbers, crime numbers of any kind. We have the best numbers. We've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country. We have to protect our law enforcement.
Are you talking to any Democrats?
Mr. President, are you still considering land strikes on Mexico, Colombia, and Venezuela? What about it? Land strikes, are you planning?
Don't worry about it.
Mr. President, do you still have a veto?
He said, "Don't worry about it. Are you gonna do land strikes in Mexico? Don't worry about it."
On Nouri al-Maliki
Love
to
it.
become the Iraqi prime minister?
We're looking at a prime minister. We're going to see what's going to happen. We've got some ideas on it, but in the end, everybody needs the U.S. Everybody needs us.
Are you planning to hold anyone
right.
accountable down in El Paso? The second aircraft carrier that you decided to send. Talk about why you made that choice.
Well, in case we don't make a deal, we'll need it.
Are you worried?
We'll need it. If we have a deal, we could.
We have,
It'll
we're
be
gonna need
leaving-
it.
It'll be leaving very soon. We have one out there that just
Isn't that
arrived.
crazy?
If we need it, we have it ready. A very big force.
Mr. President,
Any progress in Ukraine negotiations? Do you still demand Zelensky has to hold elections before summer?
Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Russia wants to make a deal, and Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Otherwise, he's going to miss a great opportunity. He has to move.
Mr. President, are you going to hold anyone
Netanyahu will receive.
Mr. President, are you personally involved in these negotiations over DHS funding, and where do you see room for compromise?
Well, but you have to remember, if you look at Homeland Security, if you look at what they've done, if you look at what ICE has done at Border Patrol, we have the safest border in the history of our country. Nobody comes in other than if they come in
That's right.
legally. If you remember, just a little while ago, a year and a half ago, for a 4-year period, they allowed 25 million people in our country. Many of these people are murderers and drug dealers, horrible things. We've gotten a lot of them out. We now have the best records in the history.
That the Democrats let in. The Democrats let in. It's so they can have voters, so they can cheat in the elections. Don't you guys understand that?
Of our country on crime. It was just announced our crime numbers are the best in 125 years. So
Oh my God.
I am here to protect law enforcement and our great police and ICE and Border Patrol and everybody. I'm here to protect them because they're protecting us. And the job they've done is incredible.
That's right. Thank you, ICE. Thank you, police department. Thank you, and all the service members, men and women out there. As a veteran myself.
Prime Minister Netanyahu will receive a pardon.
I do think so, yes.
Do you still have confidence in Kristi Noem, Mr. President, despite the reports of chaos?
Are you
We have low crime numbers. The answer is
Duffy's handling of the airspace closure over El Paso? Are you pleased with Sean Duffy's handling of the airspace closure over El Paso?
the way it happened. People learn. People learn.
on Greenland, on European leaders' hypocrisy. Greenland doesn't want Europe controlling them anymore. What's your message to them, to those European leaders' hypocrisy?
Greenland's going to want us, but we get along very well with Europe. We'll see how it all works out. We're negotiating right now for Greenland.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and stop that because that's another 7-8 minutes. But we're gonna go into the voter ID law or voter ID. And this is one of the reasons why we need the elections, or the elections. We need During the 2020 elections, Wisconsin had 7.1 million registered voters, but only 4 million adults exist in the state. And that's sort of how it was here in Michigan. That's why they wanted to keep the illegals. Even today, the total number of adults that exist in Wisconsin is around 4,730,447. Does that even make sense? You start to see why they want to cheat in the election. Make this make sense. The 2020 election was stolen. Here we go.
Our group of citizens, inherently don't trust our election systems to begin with, because this is the WEC website called Badge of Voters, and you can see that the total count of registrants on here is 7.1 million registrants. And it gets to the problem that we only have 4 million adults in the state of Wisconsin. So we're approaching, in the 7.13 million number on the voter rolls, that grows almost daily. It never ends. It rarely goes down. It drops slightly when they sent out the 4-year postcards, and then it shot right back up, and it's the highest that I've ever seen it. Okay, and it's even worse than this, because there's the 4 million adults in Wisconsin. Not all of them register, not all of them vote. We're really down around about 3.6 million, 3.7 million.
Dang. Isn't that crazy? I mean, just the sheer number of these people had some really big kahunas. Remember all the crazy stuff? I mean, ballots in semi trucks. I mean, it was nuts, and we sort of just blew it off because the news medias were on the side of the Democrats. Well, I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's go ahead and get past that. So I'm going to play this right here because we finally got Suzanne Collins to get on board and she co-sponsored the bill to have voter ID. I believe right now we have 50 senators, and with the vice president we have +1. Now, what they need to do is a standing filibuster. Go ahead and take a look at that. What it means, or what it is when they continue talking, and then when they're done talking, they go ahead and have that vote, and then they pass that. But we do have that, and plus the other one, we can nuke the filibuster. And Senator John Thune was, I don't know, he's dragging his feet, and I don't think he wants to, because me personally, this is just my opinion, he is a snake. But here is a surprise to me, and take a look at this. John Fetterman.
Senator Fetterman, great to have you here today. You know, I want to start with the news that's happening on the Hill, the Save America Act. Where do you stand on that?
Well, where we stand, I mean, we don't even have the Republicans on their side. And I want to thank you guys for running all those clips about Democrats to nuke the filibuster. I mean, you know, all the Democrats, we wanted to nuke the filibuster. I mean, and I campaigned on it too. So, I mean, we were very wrong about that, to nuke the filibuster, and we should really humble ourselves and remind people that. And now we wanted to eliminate it. Now we love it. Now we love the filibuster. So that's a fact where we are now. So where I'm at, and now as your prior guest pointed out, 84% of Americans have no idea with presenting IDs to vote. So it's not like a radical idea. It's not something, and there already are many states that show basic ID. So that's where we are in the Senate. So I would never refer to the SAVE Act as like Jim Crow 2.0 or some kinds of conspiracy. But that's part of the debate that we were having here in the Senate right now. And I don't call people names or imply that it's some kinds of things, something gross about the terrible history of like Jim Crow.
So
That's it right there. Is because he knows that his party has been lying and overblowing it. Like Chuck Schumer calling Jim Crow 2.0. I mean, the black voters are smart. And it's racist. It's straight up racism. Unbelievable.
oh, you're not there on the Save America Act specifically just yet, but you're there on the principle of voter ID. Is that what I'm hearing?
What I'm saying, though, that states, whether it's like Georgia or other states, you know, you have ID to vote. That's not a radical idea. Now, some people can agree or disagree on that, but it is not a radical idea. And many states already do that. And Wisconsin already ratified that in their constitution. Wisconsin elected a very liberal justice, and now almost 2-1, they voted to produce ID to vote and put it in their constitution. Wisconsin, you have Baldwin, very liberal, and Johnson, very conservative. I mean, that's part of the pull and push about the American democracy.
Senator, I want to ask you about a rising star in your party. I think she's going to try to run for president. I'm speaking of AOC. She had some remarks on the world stage this week as she tries to take a foray into foreign policy. Listen to this.
I wanted to know if you think that the Democratic presidential candidate in the 2028 elections should reevaluate military aid to Israel.
I mean, to me, this isn't just about a presidential election. Personally, I think that the United States has an obligation to uphold its own laws, particularly the Leahy laws. And I think that, personally, that the idea of completely unconditional aid, no matter what one does not make sense. I think it enabled a genocide in Gaza.
She talks about a genocide, but I have a Jerusalem Post headline this week that Iran is shooting protesters in their hospital beds, but she makes no mention of that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop that because it's not really what we're talking about, but it is what it is. That's AOC. And then this last little bit, I'm going to go over what is the filibuster and how it works. This is the last thing. Let's just wrap it up right here. Just a short clip.
Republicans are pushing back on calls from the White House to end the filibuster. So the Republicans don't need the help of Democrats to pass a bill to reopen the government. And we wanted to examine what the filibuster is and why the Senate has held on to the rule for decades. The filibuster is a tactic to delay a Senate vote by prolonging the bill's debate period. Even though passing a bill only takes 51 votes, it takes 60 votes to stop debate. So the filibuster effectively means that most bills are stuck unless at least 60 senators out of the 100 members vote to move them forward. You may think of the filibuster as a lone politician like Mr. Smith from the film Mr. Smith Goes to Washington talking for hours. In most cases, though, it's executed by a politician publicly or privately, telling Senate leadership they will stall the bill's passage. If Senate leadership doesn't have enough members to pass the 60-vote hurdle, the legislation is effectively paused. The filibuster has become more common over the last few decades. More than 60% of votes to end a filibuster since 1917 have been held over the last 12 years, according to Senate data. Lawmakers have called for it to end over the years because it is seen as a roadblock to passing significant legislation in a divided Senate. Its champions have advocated for its role in forcing compromise among senators from different political parties.
Yeah, so basically, if they nuke the filibuster, they need 50 votes, and then we have the vice president there to tiebreaker, whatever, 51 votes. But then also they have the standing filibuster, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to be talking about the standing filibuster, where they sit there and talk for as long as they possibly can. Each senator can go up 2 times. They can go as long as they want to, but only 2 times per senator, as long as they can last, I guess. And then once it's done, they'll have that vote, and it'd be a 50 vote win. So, all right, guys, with that being said, hey, if you guys like these contents, I'm actually getting better. I'm trying to anyway. If you guys like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. So just keep looking at things and have a great day. We'll see you soon.